And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, I will be going over the start bench or G League list that I made. But before I do that, I also want to I found this tweet, right, that was talking about Alexander Sarr, and this, is these are his final stats from the summer league in like the entirety of the summer league. So he ended up going 9 for 47 from the field. You heard that right. 9 for 47. And I'm talking into the mic so that way you could hear that. That is a true shooting of 22.6%. And he had a PER of 3.8. Now, why do I mention that? That's because that PER mark is the worst of any first rounder in the summer league. The absolute worst. Which is really bad to think about because like people were so quick to trash Bronny for playing bad even though he was a 55 overall pick in the draft. Yet here is the second overall pick in the entire draft with the worst PER in his entire draft class. That is awful. Like that is terrible. Now, again, I can't say this more than enough times. It's just the summer league. So like, no guarantee on whether or not he's going to be a legitimate bust or not, but it's not looking good for him. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and continue on with the list. So next player on this list is Matas Buzelis. Now, he's one of those players that actually, surprised me in the summer league. So I think he's going to be a starter. And while he is going to be a starter, I think he's also going to, play a lot of minutes with the second unit and mainly be like, a big time second unit scorer for the Chicago Bulls. Now, I have a feeling that since DeMar was traded, I have a feeling this is going to open up a good roster spot for him and for him to potentially get some minutes. And the fact that he was also playing really well in Las Vegas, I also think that's going to earn him a bunch of minutes. So I think he's a starter. So next on our list, we have our first G League player, who is going to be Nikola Topic. Now, the reason why I say that is because I think he's going to make the G League roster. I don't think he's going to be coming off the bench simply because of the talent that Oklahoma City now has for the team and in the starting lineup as well as in the bench and the rotation. So I think he's going to be a G League player. And I don't really think they would have much use for Nikola, especially coming off of an ACL injury and playing less than 650 minutes last year. So, but he is 18 years old and he's relatively young. So, we could see that we could probably see an improvement or an appearance on the starting lineup, or not in the starting lineup, but in the rotation for the main team. But I really feel like that being in the G League is a good start for him. Next player, we have Devin Carter for Sacramento. And, he's going to be either a G League or a bench player. He's mainly a defender, and that's really like where the G League part of it comes. I feel like if he's just a defender and he's coming off the bench, I don't think they're going to get much value out of him from that. Now, I feel like if they send him to the G League and he can develop his offensive game a little bit more, then he would be able to be a bench player for the Sacramento Kings. That's my personal opinion. He also missed 6 months due to shoulder surgery, and, that could mean that he might not see the floor at least up until January. So that's really all that I gotta say about this one, because he didn't really play that many games in the summer league. So, but I feel like since he was drafted mainly because of his defense and just how physical he is, I have a feeling that he's going to need some work on the offensive side. But that's just me. So next player on this list is Bub Carrington for the Washington Wizards. I think he's going to come off the bench as a combo guard. Now, despite the fact that he's on the Wizards and the Wizards don't really have competent players, I guess you could say, they do still have some guards that can do a thing or two, and that are probably going to see a couple more minutes than this rookie guard that is coming off the court for them, right? So they have a lot of high hopes for Bob Carrington, and they have to hope that, he actually hits on, the projections and the decision making and things like that, because again, this is I think it was rather risky getting another guard but then again, they did hit in free agency and in the offseason on Valanciunas. So we'll see how it goes. I think he's going to be benched. Now, next player on this list is Kel'el Ware for the Miami Heat. I think he's going to be a very good bench player because he does play the big man, and they already have Bam Adebayo at the big man, so he has to come off the bench and be a very good backup big man. He's 7 feet tall, and he also has, he has other playmakers along with Adonis Williams and Isaiah Stevens, and so I just feel like, coming off the bench is going to be the best option for him. Next, we have a pretty controversial pick, Jared McCain. He gets, slandered a lot or talked about a lot on the media because he paints his nails, and also because he does a lot of TikToks. I mean, you can see on the image that he does have his nails painted the Philadelphia colors. So a lot of people, the opinion on him is rather mixed, and I think he's going to be a solid player coming off the bench. And I feel like he's going to be a pretty good shot creator off the bench, to substitute for Tyrese Maxey. And the reason why, I should also explain, the reason why he says that he paints his nails is because he feels like he can shoot the ball better. Now, I don't know how he thinks that. I don't know how that works. But, I always say you look good, you feel good, and I also say that if you're just, depending on the scenario, whatever makes you comfortable with your shooting makes you comfortable, and you should use that because that just gives you the advantage because you want to be comfortable when you're shooting that jump shot. So that's all I got to say about that. I'm not going to get into why he paints his nails all that much. I'm not going to even talk about it that much because I really want to talk about this guy, Connect 4, that's his nickname, or Dalton Connect. Arguably the biggest steal in the entire draft. And, while he is the biggest steal, arguably, I think it seems like he's going to be best suited for being a bench player. And I think he's going to find a lot more use being the scorer for the second unit. And, having JJ Redick as the coach, again, we're not entirely sure if he's going to be really good, but he is accustomed to, a lot of plays that were drawn for him to, catch and shoot and set up his team to score a bunch of threes. So maybe he can do the same thing for Dalton, but we'll see. We're not entirely sure. We'll go ahead and see. Next player on this list is Tristan da Silva, and he's for the Orlando Magic. Now, I think he's going to be a pretty solid shooter for this team, and again, a bench player. Not really many G League players for this draft. I understand that this draft is considered to be one of the worst in recent history, but haven't really given off that many players and written them off to go to the G League. Again, still rather early, but just wanted to point that out. Next player on this list is Jacoby Walter for the Raptors. He is most likely going to be a 3-and-D option, and I have a feeling that he's going to come off the bench. Now, he's going to get a lot more minutes given Gary Trent Jr. leaving the Raptors. So, but then again, they have a lot of other, forwards and guards, like, for example, Emmanuel Quickley, Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, and Bruce Brown. They're probably going to get extended minutes, and that's going to limit this rookie's role. So, I think he's mainly going to come off of the bench. Now, next we have the Jalen Tyson. Now, we're sort of at the part of the list where, there aren't going to be many starters. Like, a lot of these players that were picked so low, they aren't going to be starters on the team. And they're most likely either going to be benched or G League. Now, mostly benched because, again, I don't really have that many G League players here. I don't really write a lot of players off like that. So he's primarily supposed to be a creator, like on the wing. And I have a feeling that he's going to be a very suitable role for the bench. He averaged 15 points, 4 assists on 58% shooting in the summer league. So I feel like they're going to find a pretty good use out of him. And playing under and behind Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, I feel like that's also going to help him. Like he can learn a thing or two from those guys. Next on the list is Yves Missy, like Missy, not Messi, and he's going to be for the Pelicans, right? He was drafted for the Pelicans, and I know I mentioned that we were getting into that territory where there aren't going to be that many starters. I have a feeling that since the Pelicans recently got rid of Valanciunas, he's going to be the starter for the team. The Pelicans, they've been looking for a rim protector. They've been looking for a good finisher around the basket, and Missy seems to be that kind of player that, can amplify a team's defense and as well as provide just enough on the offensive side, stand in positions that best help the team, run pick and rolls, things like that, especially now that they have CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray in the backcourt. Now, next player on this list, by the way, we are on pick number 22, and that is Deron Holmes for the Denver Nuggets. Now, I'm not entirely sure if, even if he was healthy, because he's not healthy, he's actually injured, I wouldn't think he would get any kind of minutes simply because now they have Russell Westbrook to come off the bench. So I don't think they would give this rookie that many minutes with Russell Westbrook. Now, he's injured, so they wouldn't give him minutes anyway, but I'm just throwing that out there. Next player is AJ Johnson. Now, he plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I think the Milwaukee Bucks, I really think they messed up with this draft. Like, they got a really low pick in the draft, yes, but I don't think this kid is going to be anything special. And I have him as a G League player. I think, he only played 8 minutes per game in Australia. He's only 19 years old as well, 167 pounds. I just don't really find much use for him on the Milwaukee Bucks roster, especially now that they have Dame, and especially since they are trying to compete for a championship. I don't think this rookie is going to do much. But that's just me. Next is the number 24 pick, Keyshawn George for Washington. I think he's going to come off the bench because Washington's roster isn't really all that impressive anyway. And he's going to primarily be a shooter for this team. Now, simply because they have a lot of playmakers on the team. Air quotes right there. Because in my opinion, I don't really like Jordan Poole's game. I think he ball hogs a little way too much. But that's besides the point. Next, we have the New York pick, Pacome Didiet. Now, while he was solid, I think, in the G League, not in the G League, excuse me. While he was solid in the summer league, I don't feel like, the Knicks are going to really worry about a player spot right now. I have a feeling that his role is going to be on the G League, and because, he's only 18 years old, and the Knicks, they already have a very solid team and a championship contending team. I don't think they would find much use putting this guy in the rotation. But that's just me. Next is Dillon Jones for OKC. We're on pick number 26, by the way, so we got 4 more left to go. And I think he has the option of being either the bench or the G League player. Now, he's good at everything on the court, at least from what I was able to tell. But again, I have a feeling that G League, is the best spot for him to develop his game, to find a focus on his game, instead of being able to just do, everything. Because he's like one of those players where it's like he could develop this, he could develop that, he could develop that. And I have a feeling that he should try and, hone his skills on just one specific thing, especially if you're like on an OKC roster, because you already have your guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and in Chet Holmgren. So see if you can develop your game in like one specific category. Next is Terrence Shannon Jr. for the Timberwolves. I have a feeling that he is going to be coming off of the bench, and he's mainly going to be a scorer, and he's like a really athletic scorer like Anthony Edwards. and he has really quick speed, and he's also quick on his feet, making him very useful for defense. He's also going to turn 24 years old, so I have a feeling that, a bench role would definitely be suitable for him on the Wolves. Next, we have Ryan Dunn. We got 2 more picks to go, and he got drafted by the Phoenix Suns. Now, despite the fact that he's on Phoenix, I don't think Phoenix is really going to make use of him, especially since they have Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. They have to figure out something for them, and I have a feeling that G League is going to be the spot for him, really. That's how I feel about it. Now, he was really exciting to watch, that I will say that, but I don't really think that's going to be enough to, justify having minutes on the court. But that's just me. So, next we have Isaiah Collier for the Utah Jazz. And yes, he actually came from Bronny's school, and he was drafted higher than Bronny, but no one really talks about him. He's going to be either a bench player or a G League player. Now, he does have a really good handle of the basketball, but he did struggle with his shot making and his decision making in college, which is why I think being on the G League or coming off the bench would help his game out a little bit more. And, depending on how players, how the roster goes about, how the Jazz roster goes about with, trading Lauri Markkanen. If they do end up trading Lauri Markkanen, we'll see if his status is going to change from either G League or bench player or even starter. I don't think he's going to start, though. Now, the last pick in the first round, the 30th pick in the entire draft, his name is Baylor Sherman. Again, forgive me if I botched that last name. For the Boston Celtics. Now, the Celtics, they already have a fantastic roster. They already are way over the salary cap, and they're in the second apron. So they probably wouldn't want to bring this player on the roster. But again, this is already a championship contending team. I think sending him to the G League, where he could develop his game, would be much more beneficial for him. Now, even though, coming off the bench and working out with the actual team might also be beneficial to him. But, he still has to find his skill set, I think. And if injuries even hit the Celtics, if that even does happen, they probably will recruit him to the lineup. So, those are my thoughts. That is the end of this 5th segment. It was a much longer segment than usual, and it continued, from the 3rd segment. So I just wanted to let that list be known to everyone. So with that is all I have for you today on this segment. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us. Remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. I really hoped that I could, get a little bit deeper into this rookie class and talking about this rookie class, but I try to make it quick, and I try to sum up everything that I had to say in just a few words because, there's 30 picks, and I still would probably have to do 30 more because, there's a whole other round to do. If you guys are interested in the second round picks, I can go ahead and do that, but that is all that I have for you today. As usual, please remember to subscribe to the show, tip and to donate to get your comments recognized, and use the link in the description. Really helps make a difference. And again, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Now, use the link in the description. Really helps the show, makes it more interactive. That's all I have for you today on this segment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson. Have a wonderful day, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go.